Wow, do we have a treat for you today? You've probably all heard of CodeSpaces and you've probably all heard of Sam. And Sam, it's just so much I want to tell you. Sam works for Microsoft, he does lots of awesome stuff in the cloud, and CodeSpaces just looks epic. And I've got access to it, but I haven't really had a play, so Sam's going to take us through all of it. But let Sam introduce himself first.
Thank you, Eddie. You're too kind, mate. You're too kind. So I'm a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. That basically means I help our customers make the most of their investment in Azure. But I really specialize in the DevOps kind of arena and the dev tooling as well. So when I got access to CodeSpaces recently, I got really excited and I started waxing lyrical to Eddie and the other guys and gals from the Code Mortals. I was like, we've got to talk about this. Yeah, I absolutely love CodeSpaces. I think it's one of those moments in tech where you see something change, and I think this is going to be the change that we see in 5 years' time and look back at this and go, that was a brilliant idea. Yeah, why did nobody think of this decades ago?
5 years, I think it's going to be like 6 months. I think it's going to be a game changer for open source, because I think a lot of the challenges people have when going to a new project is, oh, I need Python version X installed or Node version Y and so on. Whereas now they're going to be able to just fork a project or create a branch or whatever it is, and they're going to have the environment set up with its dependencies, with like a Mongo database or SQL database or whatever it needs, just there so they can get working. I just think it's going to be a huge game changer, and it's just going to be so exciting. And GitHub Actions has really, I think, changed a lot of things as well. But this, I think, takes it to the next level. So do you want to just say a few words about what is GitHub CodeSpaces, and then we'll get into it and you can show us how it all works?
Right, I think that's a really interesting question. So as a technology, VS CodeSpaces is leveraging dev containers under the hood and Visual Studio Code. And basically, it's Visual Studio Code running in your browser, but as the user interface, but the back end is running inside a dev container hosted by GitHub. Yeah, and that's being pulled through, as you say, from configuration files baked into the repo. Yeah, so just as we saw the shift with DevOps pipelines move into YAML pipelines baked in with your code, so you could see your CI and CD pipelines in the same place and evolve with your source code, we're now going to start seeing your code tooling evolve with the source code. Yeah, and it's a really important thing. I mean, it was only the other day I was talking to a good friend of mine, a guy called Neil that we worked together for a long time, and he's just jumped on a project where they're building out this Ruby on Rails app, and it's really exciting. But they've spent the first couple of days getting themselves all their Ansible scripts and things ready to build out their dev machines, so they've got a consistent place to start from. So every time somebody joins the project, they know they've all got the same libraries installed, they've all got all of the different kind of tooling, and once they start pairing up, they've all got the same keyboard shortcuts, etc. Well, CodeSpaces kind of fixes all of these bits and makes it, baked into the same place as your source code, the same place where your application's going to be developed from. Yeah, and I think that's a really important bit.
I agree, and you just made me think of another kind of idea, another problem it fixes is some people have powerful laptops, some people don't, whereas doing this doesn't really matter how powerful your laptop is, because even though you can run VS Code locally or in the browser, whichever way you do it, it's still connecting to the cloud. So therefore, it doesn't really matter how powerful your computer is. So I think people can get really portable computers or older computers, and it will still have the same experience as everybody else, which I think is just, again, adds to the whole game changer part. Oh, I'm so excited to get into this. So excited.
No worries, mate. No worries. I mean, the thing is, Microsoft actually tried this with a parallel kind of project called Visual Studio CodeSpaces, and you can still run that separately, but it's slightly different. A lot of the technology is running under the hood's the same, but the integrations are slightly different. I just think the GitHub CodeSpaces integration takes it to that next level of being useful, because as you say, it really bakes it back in, so that somebody with their iPad could come along, and as long as they've got a decent keyboard, iPad, Wi-Fi, go for it. Yeah, start developing. Barrier to entry is just pulled all the way down. Anybody
I
can have a
didn't
crack at it.
think about an iPad or a phone or something. That's pretty awesome. I'm excited. Shall I share my screen and we can start showing everyone what it's going to look like? Because this is beta. Just to remind everyone, this is beta, so not everyone has access. You have to apply for access, and full access is coming out to everyone in October, if I remember correctly. And the pricing model hasn't been confirmed yet. But, you know, with GitHub, they are quite generous with a lot of their stuff. So I'm guessing for open source projects, it's going to be quite generous. And then for private projects, of course, business need to make money.
I can't possibly comment on the commercials at the moment, but I'm really excited by the technology.
It's going to be awesome. I think, like you said, it lowers the barrier to entry for everybody. So let's just show everyone how it looks. So the way it looks is I get this extra CodeSpaces tab at the top, and then you can access it via a repo as well. So this is as far as my knowledge goes. So I'm going to do a little bit of talking now. Sam's going to correct me if I go wrong, but then Sam's going to like really guide me after this. So I do have one already. I was just having a quick play. Let me delete that. And so we can have no spaces. So I can create one, or...
So as part of the beta, you're limited to 2 code spaces.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, I think that's something that will be, evolve over time. But for the moment, you're limited to 2. But that doesn't really make much difference because they're actually really quick to spin up. Yeah. So there's not much of a downside to deleting them and then recreating a new one when you need it. Yeah. It's kind of like if you think of the cloud journey as well, it's a bit more like that ephemeral kind of, immutable and ephemeral kind of infrastructure. Yeah. You just build it when you need it. And then when you've finished with it, you discard it. Yeah. And then come back to a new version, a fresh new version of it when you're ready. It's the same kind of idea, but this time we're doing it with your actual development environment rather than just the code, just the infrastructure or the code base. Yeah.
I see what you mean. That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and I think it's another kind of step change in the cloud journey for customers and for people coming who are new, especially coming from, if anybody's you're watching that's come from, more true tried and tested kind of infrastructure backgrounds and code development background. They're expecting machines to have longevity and they treat them like pets. Yeah. This is moving forward to not treating it like pets, but treating it more like cattle, because as long as you've got your consistent tooling set up to build out your dev container, then anybody can come along and have exactly the same experience. Yeah, so actually it doesn't matter if it's destroyed and you recreate it.
A bit like branches, I suppose. We want them not to hang around for a long time, and you just recreate them from a different branch when you need it.
Yeah, exactly. Let's not. It's the new this. The world of the cloud requires you to spend more time thinking about how you can add little incremental value to it, rather than caring for it and petting it and making sure that it's a long lived kind of thing. It's more the next version slightly better than the last one, and being able to then very quickly change direction if you find you've gone down the wrong path. Yeah, because you can just go back, to this code, this commit, and then we'll go from there, and then we'll pull forward.
That's true. That's true. Just to answer Diraj's question, at the moment it is free because it's in beta, and they haven't announced. I think in the near future, in the next week or two, they're going to announce the pricing potentially, and then so we know when it's available in October what the pricing will be. But being GitHub, I think if it's open source, if the project's open source, they're going to be quite generous with the usage. And like Sam was saying, if you are charged, say, by the amount of minutes or hours you use per month, when you've finished working on that feature and you've kind of committed and pushed the work, just you can delete the environment and recreate it within like seconds. We're going to try and do one in a minute anyway to show you. And it creates so quickly that there's no point trying to have loads of these hanging around everywhere.
Cool. So have you got? I know you were looking at having a repo that we were going to start off with today, Eddie.
I had a few in mind, but I thought maybe start off even simpler. Then I might create a new one, just start really simple. Otherwise, if we jump into one, then we're kind of rushing ahead. So if I just I'm going to go to my community organization. I'm just going to create a new repo.
Yeah.
Anything, what should we call it? We'll just say CodeSpaces test.
Why not?
Demo, maybe. I think I named the other one live stream actually at the beginning, but I can always rename it later. Live stream CodeSpaces demo. There we go. And it's going to be public. We'll initialize it with a README, and then we can add whatever we need, Node, Python, Ruby. It doesn't matter because CodeSpaces allows us to do whatever we need. So what have you been working with recently, Sam? What technologies? I'm familiar with Node.
I've been spending a lot of time with Hugo at the moment. Go Hugo. So we've got a couple of projects going on at the moment where we're kind of documenting and bringing stuff together. There's a really exciting one where we're trying to bring Hugo as a knowledge base of information, but also using the markdown that you hide behind it. For those that don't know Hugo, it's an open source, not quite a CMS, but it's not far off. It's a static website generator written in Go. And we're using it. It takes markdown, load of templates, presses out a static website.
A bit like Jekyll.
Yeah, very, very similar to Jekyll. Very, very similar to Jekyll.
Okay.
And I've got one project going on at the moment where we're using that to build out a website that's like an information store, if you will. At the same time, we're also building out a bot framework on the back to read that markdown and use that as an information store. Yeah, but that's going a little bit off piste for this. So
sounds interesting. I look forward to hearing more in the future.
There's so many really cool projects going on at the moment, but yeah.
Don't make us jealous. Okay. So I've created this new repo. It's just got a README in it, nothing else. I was going to add a file, but then I thought that's a bit stupid because we want to go into CodeSpaces.
Yeah, let's just open a CodeSpaces. Open CodeSpaces. Yeah.
New CodeSpace. Okay.
And this is really where the user interface for GitHub CodeSpaces, for me, kind of stands out, because you've taken a couple of clicks there to get to the point where when this initializes, and we've got to remember this is beta software, so sometimes the performance is going to be variable, especially as this is around the time the US market's going to be waking up. So this is going to build out a Visual Studio Code dev container, running inside GitHub, and then it's going to present the front end to you inside your web browser, and it will look like pretty much a standard Visual Studio Code interface. Yeah, so we'll have the usual kind of setup down the left-hand side with the menu options. You'll be able to see the files in the repo, and the demo gods are shining on us today, Eddie.
That's fine. It wouldn't be a true live demo if things didn't break. Let's have a look. Let's see what it did. CodeSpaces. It did try and create something.
Yeah.
While it's thinking about it, I'm just going to share Sam's Twitter in the YouTube chat. Everyone, don't forget to go and follow Sam, see what he's up to. Shubham says, I'm enjoying these live streams. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to have to delete it and start again. That was an empty project as well. Yeah,
these things usually work first time.
Let's have a look. Delete. I can try it from here. Create your code first code space.
So this is the other way you can do it. This user interface is quite nice if you just want to see what you've already got running. Yeah, and being able to switch between them. And I suspect when we get beyond that beta limit of only having two, this will be one way of being able to just quickly spin into one.
I know why it doesn't work. You can't use it for organizations yet, I think.
That could be one.
Yes, I remember reading something just now. Okay, we'll create it under my account for now. There we go, new. I do remember reading something. It's not in beta. It's not available for organizations yet. Okay, so live stream code spaces demo. We're just showing everyone what not to do, and then all right, okay, create the project again. I can delete the other project later. Open with CodeSpace, new CodeSpace.
It's just the way demoing goes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I can bring up Shubham's, have I pronounced the right message? There we go. It's looking better now, right? Looking much better. I think it's just refreshed. It's gone really small. I'll have to make it bigger in a second. I'm waiting for it to finish loading. Here we go. It's building the container. We're going to get a VS Code ID in a second.
And that's the important thing to note here. What it's actually doing is behind the scenes, it's spinning up that that container that's based upon the dev container. And you notice the theme at this moment in time looks more like Visual Studio Code standard on your Windows PC or your Linux PC or your Mac. And then the theme will switch to the GitHub theme like that. And that's just one of those artifacts as we're going through this beta process of developing it. Well, I say we, the amazing team at GitHub are going through this beta process. I would love to take some credit for it, but I'm not going to. It's just.
I did hear that it's possible to in the config for setting this up in your project, you can add themes. So therefore, each time you boot it up, it has all your themes. It has all your like your if I bring up the terminal here, for example, it has all your right terminals and all the right settings, which I think is really, really interesting. So I haven't done that yet. It's dotfiles, is that correct?
So there's a whole heap of dotfiles that you can create that can do different things. So I haven't actually tried changing the theme, but I have created dotfiles that have got that make sure I've got the right extensions installed, that add particular tasks in for different things. Like Hugo, for example, you've got to run it with a draft toggle, when you actually execute it, to be able to show you all of the markup that you've been working on rather than just the stuff that's ready to go. So adding in those extra tasks in through your dev container kind of configs are really useful for things like that. But also the most important one, I think, is actually being able to change the Docker container that it's running on. So this will have picked up the standard dev container, and I can't remember which one the top level base one is, but it won't have all of the tool you would expect for everything.
Okay.
As we choose to build this on for Node.js or something like that, we can choose to use a different dev container, or we can choose to create our own Docker file and completely customize it.
Nice. And then can we add then Mongo or SQL or whatever we wanted as well?
Yeah. The sky's your limit. If you can get it working in Docker, then we can put it into here.
Nice. I see what you mean. That's really cool. Okay. So we'll see how far we get today. So we won't do any crazy customization. The other thing, if I remember correctly, is I can also run VS Code locally that that connects to my CodeSpace. And again, we don't have to do that today, but just to show that just to talk about that as an example, if people don't want to edit in the browser.
So one of the really cool things is out the box, this comes with the live share extension baked in. Yeah. So not only could you do that with yourself, you could do that with both of us, and we can both see each other's kind of like as we type in the same file. Yeah, which I think is really excellent.
Yeah, that is.
I don't know whether you want to.
Yeah, we can give that a go, definitely, because then you can change things rather than telling me what to type. So what I need to do is I need to start a collaboration session. I think it gives me a URL. Is that correct? And I can send that to you.
So you start a collaboration session.
I've just done. And
then you need to invite participants.
Invitation link copied to clipboard. Okay, I'll send that to you over on Slack. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's sent. Awesome.
Bear with me a second for that one.
Okay, this is the README. Let me start making some changes to the README. We can include what we're going to cover. So we're going to do live share. What else do people want to see? Live share, and we might jig these around. These aren't necessarily in order. Live share. I would like to see later on, not the second, but see if we can get some dependencies in. So dependencies like Mongo, for example, but not necessarily second. And then what else?
So when you say dependencies, do we want to run that? We want to customize the Docker container that's running it. How about that?
Yeah, that's true. So therefore, we'll need to make a Docker file as well. And then just let us know what other features you think are really interesting and useful. So live share, we'll tick that off on live share. That's done. Or not yet. You haven't quite connected yet, but when you do, that will be done. Here we go.
I apologize. I didn't log into Slack before.
No worries. Node.js. I can create a Node.js file, right? So let me start doing that while you're doing this. So file, new file, and I can create it from here as well, I suppose. And go new file. We can just call it index.js. Everyone, this probably looks familiar to everybody as well. I see Bon, thank you very much for sharing some information from the docs. I am using Chrome at the moment, so I did think that would be good to use that. Yeah, I think it is like 99% the same as VS Code. And thanks, Diraj, for telling everyone to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if they haven't already. That's awesome. Okay, let's have a look. Has Sam joined yet? I can't tell. I've got a.
I've not.
Oh, okay.
I've not joined the live share yet. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Got a question. Is
just trying to get that.
No worries. Agrova, is CodeSpaces closed beta? It is, but you can apply. So if I open a new tab and go, if you just, he says, GitHub CodeSpaces, you can apply to get access. So it says request early access. I'll share a link in there. Mohammed, how to run web applications in CodeSpaces? That's a really, really good point. They've got this. Actually, let's do that instead. Before we do Node, let's do client side. I think that's a better idea first. So if we create a new file and we'll just say index.html, because they've got this. I saw it in a live stream when they announced it. How you can go right click and you can say kind of run. I can't remember. Open you go to terminal. There was some way of. I should have probably checked this beforehand, or hopefully Sam will know. But you can kind of run this in.
Oh, you mean like see the contents of your?
Yes.
Right. So you have to host it somehow. So can we do an express host of that file? Can we use npm express to host that?
Yeah, I was just doing even just a HTML file. Just keep it really simple for now.
I know how to do it with things like. Yeah, I don't know. How would you press it out?
Okay, if not, we can do it with Express or something. So we can say npm init, and we can do -y to accept everything. So let's just do that. Thank you very much. We have package.json. All looks good. Oh, that might not be very happy with that. It needs to be lowercase, I think. I'm surprised the didn't change that. There we go. You've got package.json. I did not mean to close it. Come back. Okay, we're good. See, you closed it and it comes back. Whew. We're all okay.
It comes straight back.
Yeah, it came straight back. That's pretty good. Okay. D-Rush says live server. Yes, there is something built in. I don't think we need live server if I'm correct. Give me a moment. We will get there. So we've got that. And if we do... but keep the ideas and suggestions coming. I'm probably going to need them shortly. I've forgotten my Express stuff. So we go install Express. There we go. I wonder if also on the live share, could you have... Oh, I think I lost it now. I might have cut you off now.
The demo gods aren't shining on us today, mate. I'm sorry. But we'll make it.
Okay, so I've got... send you a new link, I think. The last one is void. And then what I want to do is also... I'm going to share... What do people think? Should I share a read-only version session? I don't know. To everybody in the chat. See if they can join. I don't know if that's a good idea or not.
I'm not sure that one's a good
maybe
idea.
do that at the end. Just in case it breaks. Okay, so we should put a git ignore because as you can see it's like 301 files have changed, but we want to do a git ignore. So dot git ignore, and let's ignore everything in node modules. Therefore, you can see now it's just gone down to 6, which is good. Awesome. Okay, everyone's still with us. Everyone's still awake. So now I've got Express installed. Okay.
Yep.
So I've got an index. Sorry, go on.
I'm trying to join the session, but at this moment in time, the demo gods are not Not being too happy with me.
No
So I'm going to sign in with
worries.
GitHub.
Okay.
It's telling me I need to sign in to join. So I'm going to sign up with my GitHub credentials.
Sure. Oh, I can't remember the. Not 4,000. Let's go 3,000 as a standard, right? Okay. Draj, we might have to use that if I can't get it to work. But I'm pretty sure there's something built in which was like pretty cool.
Well, as I say, I've been using like the I've lost the words for it today. My mind's
It's
gone
been a long
blank.
day for you today.
It's been a long few weeks, mate. But yeah, I've with Hugo, you do a Hugo serve, and it starts his own web server on the back end of it. You can go and join that. Yeah.
So
it proxies that port through to your browser instance.
right. Okay, that's fine. We can do that. I can do what Draj suggested and add a server to do it locally. I thought I had something built in, but I could be wrong. And we did start it without the package.json. I know if you start it with the package.json, it does some things clever. If I remember watching a tutorial on that. Let me see if this works. We haven't got...
Managed to join the live share.
Cool. So if we
So
say
you should be able to
start and do npm run, not npm run, what am I doing? Node index dot, there we go. So we should be able to see you are here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, there you go. Sam's here. Okay, awesome. So that is what, okay, let's just see if it works now. So if I do npm start,
yeah,
I should see starting, and then if I hit, how can I get access to 3,000?
So
we should have practiced this beforehand.
we should have practiced this one beforehand. My apologies, but
That's fine.
Normally, I thought when you started Express, it came up with the URL that it was going to be hosting through.
It'll be on, I guess, localhost to the container on 3,000.
Yeah, because again, I come back to when I've done this in the past with other bits. I haven't tried this with that Node, and I apologise for that. But normally you get like the HTTP ://localhost, and then the port number it's running on, and then it actually captures that in the browser. So you click through it, and it opens up in a new tab, redirects it through the proxy.
Okay, let me try. I've just clicked on a few things. Let's see if that works. Connecting to port forwarding. Okay, I might have figured something out.
You figured it out.
I think so. As you were talking, I was stealing your ideas. D-Rush, thanks for saying you love my live streams. I think everyone loves watching me struggle and show how real it is, right? Not everyone knows all the answers straight away. And I think my videos show it like kind of quick and concise, where this is how you do it and it always works perfect every time. Whereas my live streams are more keeping it authentic, and you can see, two developers or developer and ops person, however you want to call it, or a DevOps person, just working through it. There we go. Hello world has appeared. So that has worked. So let me bring this over here. No, don't go to another window. That was not what I wanted to do. Okay, I did not mean to do that. Let me start again. I want to put them side by side. So if you make changes, do we see the changes reload? I'm guessing not, but as we add another library that I think D-Raj suggested, then we will see it. Let's have a look. So this is the website. Okay, let's make this a bit smaller.
So this is where the live share really comes into its own, because as you're doing that, I can make some changes to the Hello World document.
True. Yeah, do that. Actually, yeah, do that, and we'll see that. And I want to share the link. What do you think about sharing the link to the website in the chat? That will work, right? That won't break. What do you think? Like to live
I think
dangerously.
you've got to be authenticated for that to work. Yeah,
Oh, we see. Okay. Yeah, okay, that makes
yeah.
sense. Because if I do that in private browsing, it probably won't work. No, it doesn't.
Don't think it will work.
Yeah. Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Okay. So if you make a change, I don't think it will reload because I haven't put in what was the one that D-Raj suggested? Live server. I think there's another one. NodeMon is another one as well that we can use.
Right. I've just made a change to that, but let's refresh the page and see whether it's worked or not.
I didn't see you make the
I'm gonna-
change. What did you change?
So I've changed the index.html.
Oh no, but I'm not loading that. Sorry, ignore that file.
Oh, JS.
Yeah, ignore the HTML. I planned to use that one, and then I gave up and did a Node one instead.
Yeah, no worries. So,
Okay, we can see Sam making a change. I don't think it will reload though. I think we'll have to start and stop the Node application. But I have a feeling if we close the Node space, delete it and the code space, delete it and recreate it, it will do some magic. I'm pretty sure I saw something in a video somewhere. But let's see. Let me know when you saved it.
I've saved it.
Yeah, I don't think it has reloaded.
No.
I've reloaded it myself on the right hand side, but I don't think it's going to change. So what I'm going to do actually, so let's live dangerously. So if I stop the application and start it, I'm pretty sure that it will look different on the right hand side. So I've just started it again.
Yeah.
If I refresh on the right hand side, it has changed. But let's make it interesting. We've got Andrew in the chat now. Here comes trouble with all his questions. Andrew, we want solutions, not questions. Okay, so what I'm going to do, what do you think about this, Sam? I'm going to commit this code, and I'm going to then delete the workspace and codespace and recreate it. I have a feeling it will pick up that we've now got a package.json and it will do some magic. What do you think?
It will do indeed. Sounds like a great plan. So you're going to one of the joys here is you can commit it through the VS Code interface, just as you would normally, or you could use the command line Git tools because the VS Code dev container has the Git command line tools installed as well.
Let me do a git status. Nice, it does. Okay, I'm going to do it up here just to...
and really sweet. It's set up all the authentication for you as well, so you won't have to re-authenticate.
Would it be... Oh, that's really cool. Will it be also... I commit that. There are no stage commits. Would you like to stage all your commits? Yes. Okay, so that's committed. So if I go, I suppose, back to the repo...
Before you do that, you need to push the changes because the changes are still in the
good point.
Local dev container.
Nice. Yes, that's true. Yes, I'm ahead by one commit. Very cool. Okay. Yep. So git push origin master. I'm guessing we're in master, which is going to be renamed to main. Is a default at the moment. Yeah. You're right. So if I go to mine, and if I go to my repositories, here we go. We're going to see that, yep, the README's there. And if I view code, there we'll see the index.js. Okay. So now that's pushed, I'm going to... how's the best way to close this? So I can do it from
just close the tab.
Just close the tab.
Just close the tab.
Just close the tab.
It's, that kills my live session, live share with you.
Okay.
But the really interesting thing to note is when you close that tab, it doesn't actually stop the container on the back end. The container keeps running for a number of minutes. I can't remember off the top of my head how long it is. I think it's about 15, 20 minutes.
Something like that. I think so, yeah.
So if you go back to it within that time frame, you'll find that it loads really quickly. If you go to it after then, it has to restart that Docker container and rehydrate it.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this one anyway. This codespace has uncommitted or unpushed changes. No, I've pushed it. It's okay. Don't worry. Delete.
Yeah, I'm sure we pushed it.
So if I go create again, and we called it live stream. Oh, interesting. It searches everybody's. That's pretty cool. So I can use this for anybody's projects. That's very cool.
I'm not sure it will. I think that might actually be a user interface being a bit overeager there.
Got you. Okay. Fair enough.
But why don't you try going to the user? Why don't you try going to the repo and creating it from the repo? Because I know that didn't work the first time, but
I think
as you pointed out, that's because we were doing it from the
organization.
from one of your organizations.
Okay. Create code space. Here we go. New code space. We're doing it off the default branch, but I know you can do it off other branches as well if you want.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that it will automatically detect that you've got some Node.js stuff in there and spin up with those pieces involved. I think you were already running in a container that had some of the Node.js stuff in it, but
yeah, I think it installs dependencies as well. It will do npm install and should have it all up and running, ready to use. So if you're using Python with pip or PHP with Composer, it automatically starts up with all the dependencies that you need, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. If you're using, the default kind of package management, like with pip, if you've got a requirements.txt or something like that, it kind of detects it and works it out for you. Yeah, and in this case, you've got a package JSON, so I'm pretty sure it will have run npm install against that.
We can check. I do. I have a node modules now. So I did delete the code space completely, and we've just recreated it, and it automatically has a node modules there. So it's already installed. So in theory, I can just go npm run. I know we want to try this a different way, but I just want to see if, not npm run, npm start. Been a long day for me as well. So in theory, that should be up and running. I will probably have to forward those ports again, and I can't remember how I did those. Was it here? Here we go.
There you go.
I wonder if it does anything. Open in VS Code. Open VS Code inside. Open in VS Code Insiders. Don't know what Insiders is. So let me. I need a new link for that. So if I forward to 3000. It's going to be localhost, hit enter. Then over here, you click it. There we go. Bring this over here. It's starting that up. Okay, here we go.
And there we go.
It has worked. Right, but I do remember seeing something where it would automatically reload it for you, but that might be coming out in a feature later on.
So I know with, and I keep coming back to it, other examples, but with Hugo, there's a live reload detector. So every time you change a file, the actual server itself reloads. Yeah, and that works beautifully because it actually even forces the website to reload the thing in your browser. But I think that's part of Go Hugo that's doing that, and not actually.
I think it is. Yeah, because I have to do NodeMon or something in this as well. Andrew probably knows best. Yeah. We've got D-Raj asking more about Hugo, interested in Go and Django. Okay, Hugo is written in Go though? Is that correct, Sam?
It is. Yeah, it is written in Go. It's lightning fast, and one of the reasons we were using it instead of Jekyll. Because as you know, Eddie, one of my pet projects that me and my wife work on, we've written it in Jekyll. But Go is really cool because you end up with that little binary that you can put on a machine, and it's so quick to get set up and running with. Yeah, because it's just you download the latest binary and execute it, because it's just got to be the right one for your platform. Whereas with Jekyll, you've got to install the whole of Ruby, you've got to get Jekyll running, you've got to get all the libraries and dependencies, and it was a slower kind of way. I think with VS Code, with CodeSpaces coming along, that actually won't be a problem that it was, but still lowering the barrier to entry.
Absolutely, it's a bit wider. How is your Docker, Sam?
My Docker's okay, adequate.
Okay.
What do you want to do?
Well, I was going to say, could we customize this more with a Docker file?
Heck yes.
Okay, awesome. Yes. My Docker is not so strong.
No. I know exactly what I want to do with the Docker file. So let's try and add it from here.
Okay.
Right. So if you press, are you on? So it wouldn't just be in the stock Docker file.
Okay.
Yeah. What we want to do is we want to let's use the built-in package for this. So if you use the Command key, Shift, and P to open up the
Command, Shift, and P. Oh,
yeah,
yes.
and then we want to add a dev container. So start typing in dev container here, and it should give us.
The 2 words.
Oh, he says I might be looking at something which I've got on mine.
No worries. I'm just going to do NodeMon while you're looking at that. Some people in the chat can help me out if they want. And Mohammed asked about mobile applications. Well, that's an interesting one. Yeah. I know web would work. Mobile, I'm not sure about that. I'd have to find out. I don't know if Sam knows off the top of his head.
I don't at the moment, no. That's part of the problem here. I've not actually tried that.
Got you. I just want to say a shout out to Stuart, who says VS Code Insiders is a daily build of the latest version of VS Code. So that's really interesting to know. I wasn't aware of that, so thank you very much. And just to reiterate, for anyone rewatching the live stream, we are not sure. Great question by Mohammed. Of course, Mohammed's going to always ask all the edge cases. Mohammed and Andrew are on this, and Steve are all on the same, cut from the same cloth, I think is the expression, where they ask the hard questions. They're not going to give us an easy live stream, which is good. It makes it more interesting. But we're not sure about mobile.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. If you open up that link I've just shared with you, so this is the other way I've done this. This is the list of sample dev containers that we can use, to bake off. And you can see there's a lot of choices here that we can.
Everyone loves some TypeScript. Go, Hugo.
Yeah.
Nice. Python. Loads.
But I don't see any mobile dev ones in there unless I'm being particularly blind.
I didn't see when I was scanning through as well. We can share a link in the chat as well.
Yeah. It's open source. More than welcome to put in any pull requests if you've got things you want to improve with these.
Andrew asks, and I knew he was going to ask this question. At least someone was anyway. It had to be Andrew. Have I got EddieBot running on CodeSpaces yet? I haven't, because I haven't figured out environment variables yet. So it's on the list of things to do. And I can figure out how to put the environment variable in so people can maybe use the environment variable but not see it. So it's things like that I need to kind of figure out.
Okay. Do you mean like secrets on the GitHub repo?
Yes.
Or?
Yeah. Well, I wonder if you can pull in secrets and stuff, but that's something maybe, don't want to get distracted on that, but that's something that would be pretty cool if I could put in a secret. Yeah.
I'll have a think about that one because it might be something we can do. But the reason I wanted to show you that repo, if we've got one in that repo that you think would be really good for this, because I know there's a Node one in there somewhere.
N. Where's N? Where's Node? Node. JavaScript Node. Oh, you can get JavaScript Node in Mongo. Let's grab that one.
Sounds like a great place to start. And if you have a look at the README here, it basically says take the folder and put it into the source of your code, and then that's a great place to start from.
Nice. Okay, so it comes with Oh My SZSH, which is freaking awesome. Okay, so where do I need to put it? So
the .dev container folder and the .vs code folder, you basically need to
clone
those. Yeah, grab those and put them in the root of your code repo that you've got.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. What's the easiest way to do this? All in the web interface. I'm trying not to download it and re-upload it. I could clone the repo, I suppose, and then move them.
So, because the dev container, because we've got the code open at the moment in the code space, we can still use the CLI, but we can use the CLI in there.
Okay, so I would still clone it as normal, but in here though.
Yeah. So if you do like a change up a directory and then clone it in next to it.
Yeah, nice. Git clone. It makes a full screen so we can see it. Continue connecting. Yes. Oh, I don't have my SSH key on there. So that's interesting. Interesting.
So if you use the HTTP
Okay.
to get flagging it rather than the SSH.
Got you. Okay, let's have a go. Live demos, gotta love them.
Well, you learn something every day, don't you?
It's true, and you get people ask good questions as well.
Yeah. Well, the only way to learn these things is to find the edges. You only find the edges by trying it.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is why I was quite keen to have a play. So if I go back a page, it was containers, JavaScript, Node, Mongo. So what we want to do, Andrew's asked an interesting question. Andrew, we did speak about this briefly before. How much does it cost? Currently in beta, it's free. When it comes out in October for everybody, we don't know. I think it's going to be announced soonish. But GitHub has been really good with their pricing model. Private repos are now free; they're not paid anymore. I think they've been really generous, so I'm not worried. I'm guessing it's going to be quite reasonably priced, especially for public repos.
Yeah.
So if I won't move our copy, VS Code.
Yeah. So if we copy the directories in
VS Code, and it was containers, and you said dev container and VS Code.
Yeah. So it's containers / and then you want the JavaScript. Node, Mongo.
Node, Mongo, and then
you want the .dev container folder.
Yeah. And we're going to go into the root of the project.
Just into the root, yeah.
Okay, let me just shuffle this over so it's all in one line for everyone to see. I think that should work. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
And I can just check that. Oh, it's a hidden file, so we need to put a hidden folder. We need to put an A on that. There we go. We can see dev containers in there. Okay.
Cool.
And let's bring the other one in.
.vs code.
We're going to have a look.
Now, it's important to note that the .vs code isn't necessarily a CodeSpaces folder that we're copying across. It's just some recommendations to enable some bits for Visual Studio Code in general. It doesn't matter whether you're running this inside a CodeSpace or local VS Code. It's just adding some settings that make it better for this type of project. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's interesting to know. I closed it again. What's wrong with me? I think that's one thing I find hard. I want to close this tab, but I end up closing the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's a bit tricky. Okay, so I've got both of those. If we look in dev container, we have...
So if you look at the dev container, yeah, this is really cool, by the way, because this is the first time I've seen one that's using a Docker Compose. I've used the Docker file quite a few times.
Okay.
But this is actually spinning using a Compose file, so it must have multiple containers that it's spinning up.
Oh, that's true. We can, yeah, you're right. Compose, what has it got? Let's have a look. So it does, it has two. So it's going to create a web version, which is using the cache, and it's going to link to Mongo. So it has access to Mongo. I don't remember how to use Mongo from Node. We'll have a quick Google. I'm sure Andrew can remember. But you're right. So now that's copied in, do we have to restart anything for it to pick it up? And
so one of the few things which I think is a little bit interesting, because you're exactly right. If you just, first of all, we need to add these files to the repo and push them up. Yeah, because at the moment they're only exist inside your container.
Point.
So, yeah, where it says changes, if you click the add next to the changes, it will just add all of them, and then you can put in a commit message, do a sync back up to Docker.
Node plus Mongo. Add it. Just leave it like that. Okay, done that.
And then we just need to do a quick push.
Push that up.
So if you use the three dots where it says source control, where you were before, where there's the three dots, if you click that down, you can do a push directly from the message from there as well.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. I'm just saying, I mean, everybody works differently. And, you know, I have customers that prefer to use the CLI and some that prefer to use the baked-in Git tooling inside Visual Studio Code. Just as we're like giving everybody like a flavor of lots of different things today, I just thought I'd show that one as well.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
It's good to see the options.
So once you've done that, what we actually have to do at this point is we have to create a new dev container, a new code space. And when we create a new code space, it will pick up those new dev container files.
Because if I do Mongo now, nothing's going to happen. But I'm guessing when we recreate it, we'll now have Mongo available.
We should have Mongo. Well, Mongo will be in that second container, but we should have the Mongo CLI so we can talk to it.
Nice. Okay. Let's give that a go.
So if you go back to GitHub, rather than closing this code space, and this is one of the reasons why it's important to note you've got the 2 as your limit at the same time, 2 code spaces as a limit at the same time. Because if you go to the repo.
Oh, the repo. Yep. Sorry. Where is it? We should be at the top. Andrew says, Nightbot is supposed to say, support the channel and sponsor me on GitHub, surely. I need to update that. Andrew says, install Mongoose. Okay, Andrew, we need to bring you onto the stream so you can do this like in a few seconds. I know Andrew's really quick at this. Okay, I'm here. I've missed out some comments, so apologies. I'll catch up on that in a second.
I'm sorry if I'm driving too quick.
No, it's perfect. No, please carry on. No, carry on.
As you know, I'm really excited by all this. But if we go to the code drop down, and then go open with code spaces, but there's a little arrow to bring it out as a message. And we want to click on a new code space.
Okay, so we'll leave the old one running.
So we're going to leave the old one running. And I recommend at the moment that you leave the old one running when you spin up the other one, the new one.
Okay, yeah.
Because it means you've still got changes to, if you need to add something to the Docker file, and I did this the other day. I created a new Docker file. I completely messed up one of my curl commands. I got it in the wrong order. It all just completely broke, and the Docker file was destroyed. And because I deleted the previous code space, I had to use other tooling to edit the Docker file and fix it before I could get a new code space to run again.
I see what you mean. Right, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's good thinking. So you can see you've done this before.
Yeah, you can see I've made it. I actually tweeted about that one. I mean, I've only been using Linux for like 20 years, and I still get my curl commands the wrong way around. But you can see now it's actually building out the new Docker container that it's going to execute in. And that's the really cool bit. For me, that's the magic that's happening there, is just so awesome, because it's building out that new environment using the really standard tooling of Docker files, so that you know exactly what it's going to look like, and it's repeatable, it's immutable, and every time you bring it back up, you're going to get the same experience. Now, so this is asking you about the ESLint, because one of those VS Code or the dev container, one of them's actually included the extensions. I can't remember which one the extensions go.
I see what you mean. Okay. Must be the other one.
Okay, I think it was actually the first one. It was in the settings one, wasn't it?
Was it? Oh, yeah, ESLint. You're right.
Yeah.
Nice. ESLint's awesome. Now, TSLint is being deprecated, and you're supposed to use ESLint as well for that. So that's pretty cool. Right. This is looking good. I've got the old one left open. What's interesting, the old one says CodeSpace, and the new one says root.
Yeah, so we can go and do a bit of discovery to find out why that one's running as root.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll note that this one's actually running as root. Is it running as Z shell even? Is a good question, because it said it should be running as Z shell. So we may have discovered a feature in this dev container Docker file.
When you say feature, is that like feature air quotes kind of like bug, or do you actually mean it's a feature as in it's configured to be running as root?
So I think this should be running as.
Damn it! That's Mac W. I got to figure out how to close a tab without close a tab within VS Code, not the tab within the browser.
So, yeah, I don't actually know the answer to that. If we have a look at the Docker file first of all.
Okay. Yeah.
Because we should be able to read this. The Docker file is setting the node user to be in user ID 1000.
Okay. And who is the user? I can't remember how to do these on Linux. There is a users file, isn't there? Was it groups? I can't remember how it is now.
Shadows, I think, isn't it? Just cat shadows, etc shadow.
You're right. And 1000 is root is not 1000.
No, I was kind of expecting an npm user, a node user, to be 1000.
Because if I do who am I on here, I'm guessing it's going to be CodeSpace. And if I do who am I on here, it's root. It's fine. I don't mind being root. That's okay. And so if I still run npm start, interesting. What broke that time? Did it not install node modules? Can't find module express. Oh, it didn't install node modules that time. Interesting.
So the stock dev container, I think, has done a better job of spinning this one up.
Yeah, this is more like customization now. So we'd have to put in. It says optional commands run. So we would want to put in here like run npm install and commit that.
Yeah.
The thing is, it will be commit at least, so we know that when we we know when someone else boots this up using CodeSpaces, it's going to exact same thing. Oh, here you go. It says here optionally uncommon if you want to install global packages. We don't want to do global packages, but as an example, we can do things. Okay, so if I don't save that here, actually, if I cut that and put this back to what it was, then you were saying I can start it in the other one.
You can still save it in here, yeah. So this is why I generally don't delete my old one until I've got my new one the way I want it.
Makes sense.
Because it just means that I delete the one I keep recreating and I just leave the other one running.
So if I commit that, I push that. So on the second one, I'll have to close this, delete it, and recreate it. Is that correct?
Yes, you'd need to close this tab, delete the code space that one's. Yeah. So if you go to CodeSpaces at the top, and they always end up with these interesting names. Yeah. So your one that you created
6
there.
minutes, I guess.
The last few digits, yeah. The last few letters of the names changed.
Okay. So I'm going to delete that one. And then we went to the repo.
As long as you
Sorry, go on.
Did you save and push the change to the repo, yeah?
I did, yes. So I can't find where it is in the shortcut. I'll just go to mine. There we go, repos. So anyone who's joined and hasn't seen how to create CodeSpaces, you go to your project and you go to code and you have your clone and all the rest as normal. But we say CodeSpace. We have an existing one which we're going to keep, which is before we introduced Docker, as we used more of the CodeSpace magic. And now we're going to ask it to create a new one so it uses the Docker. It should be the same as before, but it should run npm install.
So I'm just looking at the docs for that particular Docker file that dev container file that we chose.
Oh, yes.
Apparently, inside the Docker compose file, we can change as well the variant of node, so we can switch between 14, 12, and 10.
Oh, I see. I just opened that now. I see that. Yep.
Which I think is really quite cool as well, because that's a nice feature of being able to say, right, as you want to test, say you've built everything for 12, and you want to test and see what it looks like on 14. Well, you can now spin up a dev environment on 14 very quickly and do some, initial kind of developer testing to see what happens, whether it all breaks or continues to work, with your new dev container, and run them in parallel. And if everything works, it's been a really easy migration path.
That's true. No, I do like that idea. You're right. You can have a play with different versions quite easy just by changing this, committing and pushing it, closing the environment or destroying the environment and recreating it. I like that.
Yeah. Or even you could push it to a different branch and bring up the dev container from the code space from a different branch. Yeah,
that is true.
So as you're going through that dev cycle of trying to iterate and experiment, come up with your hypothesis of what's going to happen, try it out quickly, see what happens, and then feed back into the your backlog of features and things that you want to be working on next. It's a really quick cycle.
And you can also run this locally, which I think is really interesting as well, as in through your VS Code, or it's just Docker, so you can also run it locally just using the Docker container or on the server.
Yes.
Okay, so it's come back up again. So in theory, we should have node modules folder, which we don't.
Interesting.
I put it in the right place, I think. I did commit and push it. It does say npm install. I can install that, that's fine. Interesting why I didn't do it. Don't need to put
one of the
joys because it's not global. It does say run as node user, but that's for global. But that's fine. We won't have to get bogged down in this. I mean, I can just do npm install here. It's not a big deal. But I will look into why that. Anyone wants an open source contribution today, can you go to this repo and raise an issue? I'll share a link in the chat. Not that one. And you can raise an issue to say install npm dependencies.
Yeah.
Let me have a look, because I'll forget otherwise later on. So you can, if you see any issues that we're struggling with, just raise an issue. And yeah, if you see any issues that we're struggling with, raise an issue and I can look into it afterwards.
Sounds like a plan.
Oh, interesting. Mohammed also says by clicking on this circle, you can sync, push and pull. Nice. I didn't know that either. That's very cool.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
I did not know that. That is good. Okay, so now we have npm, node modules installed. Yeah. So I could go npm start. And it should start, and we can open this in the browser. Just want to check it works before we add any more features.
Yeah.
So it's starting, and we wanted to go to...
We have to add that port.
Remote Explorer, yep, where it says add a report. We're running on 3000. Enter localhost 3000. I click on this, it opens it. Let's have a look.
And you're absolutely right, Eddie. Once you've got the dev container checked into the repo, you don't actually have to run this inside CodeSpaces. You can try out the dev container features of running this inside a Docker container on your local machine. Yeah. If you're running Windows with Windows Subsystem for Linux, you can run it with the dev container running inside WSL and the front end running in natively inside Windows as well.
That's really good for when you're offline, right? So if you're going on a plane or a train, internet's up and down, then you can just build it locally and you can continue working as well. I think it's just so many, it opens so many options, which I think is really, really interesting. Yeah.
It adds so much to the experience of consistency for the developer. And I think that's why it's really, for me, that's the big exciting thing there. Yeah.
Exactly.
When I think about what DevOps does for, and I'm not just talking about any particular product there, I'm just talking about DevOps practices in general. They've all been around accelerating that time to getting value. And I think this is just another case of helping developers go from joining a project to having working code in production faster.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I've just to let everyone know, I have just installed Mongoose.
Cool.
Well, not the HTML one, we don't need that. I keep going to that one already. I don't know why. Okay, we've got Express running. And so in theory, we have to save something to it and just read something from it, I guess. I don't know what the URL will be. I guess it's running on a port. This is where my Docker Compose or my Docker
This is where the Docker Compose will,
right.
yeah. So I'm just looking at the Docker Compose file.
We've got Mongoose, and then just connect to localhost, I'm guessing.
Yeah, let's try it. I don't know for sure. I've not tried. Again, my Docker Compose stuff kind of runs out really quickly there.
No worries, we'll figure it all out together. Anyone who uses Docker Compose in the chat, let us know. And once I've got this all working, I'll do a video on it so you can see all of this in like 5 minutes. But this is where you get to see us all struggle together. And we all learn together.
Indeed.
Because it's great seeing a video on how to do everything perfectly. But the thing is that it's never real like that in real life. And so, I mean, it
exactly
just works.
Exactly, Eddie. It's unrealistic to think that everybody can get everything right first time straight away. In fact, if you ask me, it's a bit of an anti-pattern for new people in the industry because they think that they see all of these perfect videos and they think that we get it right straight away all the time. They don't realize that actually these things are all about the grind, about the repetitively trying out and experimenting to actually get to the point where we get the answers. A lot of effort goes into these things.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't just work out the box every time, like in the movies. So I'm going to look in the chat because maybe someone's given an answer. Should be localhost, okay? And you can call it by link to the name, right? Andrew is right. You can call it with a link to the name, actually. Good point. I forgot about that. Andrew's memory is amazing. He remembers everything. So I should be able to call it just Mongo, if that's the name.
Mongo, I think, yeah.
Yeah. So I should be able to just say Mongo test. I probably need the port. I think Andrew's put the port in the chat. 27017.
Does the port need to go before the final slash?
Oh, yes. Good point. This is not pair programming. This is like Decker programming. Okay, let's have a look. Current URL string parser is deprecated. So this is where I probably need, where I initially had this in the documentation. They do say to put an object with use new URL. But if it's deprecated, I don't care actually. You know what? It's still going to work. It just won't work in the future. And that's fine. I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm guessing that connected. It doesn't look like there's an error. Just deprecated warning. Yeah. Okay, so that's good. Okay, good teamwork, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
And
out again. Thank you.
And also Tech Nick Hill also talked about the host name as well. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Okay, so let's write something to the database, right? This is where Andrew is again, remembers everything. So forget errors. I'm not going to do errors. If it breaks, it breaks. Let's just save something. I don't want to add a model. Can we just save raw JSON file? I'm just trying to think. Can I do... this is where I don't really use Mongo.
Yeah.
I'd have to write a model, wouldn't I? I would have to write a model. I'm going to omit that for now. I mean, for me, it's more about Elasticsearch. In just saving JSON, reading and writing. Actually, we should have added Elasticsearch, not Mongo. I did Mongo just for Andrew because I know he loves Mongo. But we know it's connected. I think that's good. I wonder if Mongo comes with any like stats table that you can read from. I know Elasticsearch does, for example. What I'm just conscious of time, Sam. What else can we show? What else do you use that you think is useful for people to see some of the features coming out with CodeSpaces? So we've shown that there are existing Docker files and Docker Compose files already created. I'm guessing that I could pretty easily add another one. I could add Elasticsearch if I wanted to. I won't do that now. If someone wants to raise an issue for me in the repo, I think I should share a link to the repo in the chat. Raise an issue, so I'd like to test it out myself by manually adding an Elasticsearch section, making sure it works. What else could we show? We did live code share.
The live code share, I know we've already done it, but I think
Yeah.
that was a really important one to show off, because you could, and I have done this in the past, have the open this up in the CodeSpace in your browser on your one machine, and then as you're going out on the road, live share from another box. Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point, actually, because Andrew and me, I work with Andrew, everyone who's listening to why I keep mentioning Andrew, but we have a problem when we say, oh, I left that code at home, but we didn't commit it or push it from the computer or whatever. But if it's in the code space, yes, you still commit it and push it because the container might get lost. But even if the container goes to sleep, when you boot it back up, what you've been working on already at home is there. Or what we also do is create patches and then Slack them to ourselves or put them in iCloud Drive or whatever. But this way, you just boot it up on another machine and it will just work. That is so true. I completely forgot about that. That is really interesting.
Because it's the thing is as well, even if you're using a customer Docker images like you are here, they do go to sleep the same as the normal one does, but it's still the rehydrating them's much quicker.
Got you. No, that's
and you only need to do that
really
in the browser.
interesting. Yeah, I do. I really do like that.
So
I just want to click on this. I just noticed something says launch server. I want to click it. I don't know what it's going to do. Cannot find npm task install test project. I don't know what that is. Okay, cancel that.
Interesting. That'll be part of your node, your packages.json, won't it?
Cannot find npm task npm install, but why do I need install test project? I don't know what test project has come from. I'm not sure.
Great question.
Something I'll have to look at. Another issue for someone to raise, I think.
Yeah. What's in the packages.json file?
It is quite simple. Quite simple. I've just got a start in there.
Okay.
So I was hoping it would pick up on the start. I'm sure you can configure it, right? Add configuration. But then I might just write npm start. Oh, NodeMon setup. Interesting. Does it mean it has it built in?
It's creating you a launch.json file by the looks of it.
Okay. Yeah, run executable NodeMon, but I don't think I have NodeMon installed. No, I don't. Okay, something for me to play with later on. If anyone wants to get a green square for today, raise another issue on launch server and I'll know what it means. So that's quite interesting. Okay. What else can we... Go on, sorry.
If we go back to the README, what else did we have on that list when we first started?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Okay, so Node.js we did, and we did that two ways. With the default one, and we did it with a Docker file, and we also did Mongo. That's pretty good. Anything else you'd like to add? I'm going to just do a quick plugin to see if I can get this rendered so people can see what it looks like already in the browsers. If I bring up, it's hidden down here, I think, extensions, and if I do Markdown. I know you can also sync your plugins to what you got locally to the.
Yes, when you're adding those plugins, I think it's adding them to your .vs Code folder.
Oh, we see. Okay. Reload.
Yeah. So if you now go and have a look at the VS Code folder, there should be a file in there that's got a link of all the plugins. So I think it's just there.
Launch server I added. I think. Oh, it says add configuration. I don't know.
I thought it put it into there. I must have.
Preview. There we go. Split to the right. got my preview now. Although split to the right didn't work so well. But you can preview my markdown, which is good. Open preview.
Cool.
Issues. Issues stroke things to look at. Things to look at. What were they? Hopefully people have created issues. I can't remember what they were now. I've forgotten already. Docker file with Elasticsearch or Elastic. And then it was the run, right? Run live server.
Yeah.
And then the one you just mentioned was plugin shared between local VS Code and cloud. I did see something. Did you say a tech Nick Hill? Did you say that was Nick? Says a launch thing is defined in launch.js. Yeah, as I clicked on things, I think it added this node.mon section. We don't have node.mon installed, so I'd have to look into that and get that installed and do that. The other interesting one was I did see somewhere that I could run it locally. I'm pretty sure. I've got a Docker tab here. But we're in a container itself, so it doesn't count. But there was...
you can run this locally if you were to save this repo, push it up to GitHub,
okay,
then clone it to your local machine. I could show you how to do that if you opened it up on your local machine in normal VS Code.
Is that to run the Docker locally, or to run instead of using the VS Code in the browser, to use the VS Code locally?
To use to basically build the Docker container locally and then run it with normal VS Code as the UI, but the container running on your local machine.
Got you.
Or do you mean the container running in GitHub and the VS Code local running on your local machine? Which would you prefer?
The second one was one I was thinking of to begin with.
So you see where it says CodeSpaces down the bottom left. I don't know whether if you click on that, whether it has got a pop-up.
Oh, open in VS Code?
Open in VS Code.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's opening here. My other screen. Authorize, let me just authorize it. Authorize. Allow, okay. It's going a bit of a loop actually. It's asking me to authorize.
It is still beta.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't think I can show that. Oh, it did open. No, it did open. It did.
Yeah?
Yeah, it did. Let me bring it across. It went in a loop 3 times and then it stopped.
Is that how many organizations you're connected to at the moment?
No, I'm connected to like hundreds.
Okay.
So, but it has opened it. So this is local. So interesting enough, if we go to my browser, we'll see I've got 6 changed files. And locally, I also have 6 changed files. So that is synced up and running. And I don't have Mongo installed. So if I bring up a terminal that's local. Oh, I do have Mongo installed, so that's a bad example. But I was going to show that I don't have it installed, but I do. I didn't realize I did. I blame Andrew for that.
If you bring up a terminal inside your local VS Code,
yes,
you logged in as root and on that container.
True, yes, you are. Because if I bring a new terminal from my computer, it's going to look very, very different. I guess it's quite small. But if I also do who am I, then it's going to say EJ, and here it's going to be root. So they are. This is definitely connected to the cloud CodeSpace. And so if I commit this, if I just say it's showing me a diff.
So you should be able to add all the files, and you can work locally at this point. I think you still have to leave the browser tab open. I think you have to leave the browser tab open at the moment. I'm not sure whether you can get away with closing it, but...
Got you, okay. So I wonder if I unstage that, and if I then do it up here, if I stage that and say Mongo added to project. Oh, I'll need Mongoose as well. Those two. And if I commit that, I want to click the circle at the bottom. We'll push and pull. Okay. Okay, don't show again. And I want to see if I go to my local. Oh, it's already changed. That was quick. I mean, that's fast.
Yeah.
Really, really nice. And I can close a tab without closing the code space, which is quite good. Very, very nice.
I have to say, Eddie, your machine flies along. Yeah.
Thanks. I've got a few things open at the moment. I think I've got like Premiere Pro and Audition and After Effects. So I'm pretty proud of it. It's doing quite well. You can see I've got like over there working on a GitHub Actions video at the moment.
I can only imagine, mate. But no, there's I think you can see. I mean,
It's really good.
the flexibility of all these different bits, and the really important thing here is it's being built up in layers. That this is just the latest incarnation of it, and I think the GitHub CodeSpaces is really slick the way it's integrated in with the repos, because you've seen the two different ways of spinning up a new code space is really lovely. The parallel kind of sibling to this is the Visual Studio code space, which you can get as part of Microsoft Visual Studio subscription. Is not quite integrated the same way. Yeah. But the underlying technology is very similar. Yeah. One of the big differences with the VS Code interface, which I think I'm really hoping they'll bring to GitHub CodeSpaces at some point, is the fact that with the VS Code, with the Visual Studio subscription one, you can actually choose how big the container is behind the scenes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're working with something where you need your container to have like 4 gig of RAM or 8 gig of RAM, and more than a couple of cores for it, then you've got some t-shirt sizes you can choose from.
Nice.
And there's also Windows containers on the horizon.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. October's not far away, right? September, October. It's coming out in October, so it's literally a month and a half away, depending on when it comes out in October. But it's going to be interesting, and then everyone can get their hands on it, and be interesting to see what people do with it. Because now, like for example, GitHub Actions has. Okay, yes, it's out of beta a while ago, but now more and more people are using it. There's a hackathon running this month about GitHub Actions, and I just got into it really, I think, in the last week or two, and it is just so much you can do with it. I'm still learning more and more, or discovering more and more things about it, and I think it'll be the same with CodeSpaces. Like after it's released in October, the next year, it's going to be so interesting to see what other features they bring out.
Yeah, well, as you said, mate, it's about democratizing kind of access to these things and making it so that people can very easily get started in building stuff. Yeah. And GitHub's got a history of making it so that it's accessible and not putting a very high barrier to entry based on price. Yeah. So
absolutely.
I can't honestly say what the price is going to be, but because I don't know. Martin, as you know, is probably a better person to ask that question to, but yeah.
They're not. I don't think anyone's aware yet, but I think it's going to be reasonable. I'm pretty sure. I'll be surprised if it isn't. Interesting to see how they manage teams. So if I've got a team of people, I don't want them to pay for it potentially. I would want to pay for it as part of the project. Interesting to see how they manage that. And can you gift someone, I don't know, like a voucher, which I think would be pretty cool, right? If someone's helping an open source project and it'd be really useful to them and they're using up their minutes or however it's going to work, it'd be nice if I could gift them, I don't know, like 500 hours of credit, or that'd be pretty cool. I could do that as giveaways on live streams, right? CodeSpaces hours giveaway.
Yeah, I mean that kind of thing would be awesome, because I could see it being really useful for open source community that are building some of these brilliant projects the internet runs on. Yeah, not having to have all of this equipment to build it out on their development machines and stuff. If we can gift them time, it's the same kind of thing as the sponsoring them to do the work. Well, not quite the same thing, but it goes part way to saying thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's pretty cool. And anyone who wants to know about dotfiles that we were briefly mentioning earlier.
Yeah.
Here are, I think there are some examples. And if you create a repo in your under your account called dotfiles, I understand the CodeSpaces loads all your dot files from it, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah. So you can have it's layers of customization, isn't? And I've heard about it. I don't actually know how to make it all work, but you can layer up the customizations because I think it chooses the ones from your .files repo first, and then you can override it in stuff in the .dev container.
Got you. That's going to be
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's definitely going to be a game changer. Mohammed in the chat says, I like free stuff only. I think for open source projects, it's probably going to be quite generous, but obviously I have no idea what it's going to be. But like with GitHub Actions as well, that's free for open source projects up into a certain amount of fair usage. But fair use is like enormous. So it's only if you're really abusing it or a huge project that clearly excuse me, clearly is making money, then you start paying. So I think a lot of these models like, Firebase and serverless on Azure and so forth, they're all really generous packages. So Kundan says, join the waiting list. Awesome. Yeah, do join it. And also everyone watching, as Andrew mentioned, do join GitHub sponsors. So GitHub sponsors allows people to, it's available in 32 countries. I did a video on it on my YouTube channel, I think last week, where you can sponsor people and GitHub take no money from it. So definitely get on there and apply for that. And if it's not available in your country, then do go on like the waiting list to receive updates and see when it's available. So that's pretty cool. Have you done it yet, Sam?
I haven't signed up to be sponsored, but I have.
Got to sign up. Everyone should sign up, because if someone wants to give you money, they can. Why deprive someone from the opportunity to give you money? I've got 4 sponsors at the moment. I'm very happy about.
I'm a very generous guy. I'm quite happy doing the things I'm doing, just for the happy feeling of having helped the community more than money side of things. I think there are people that are more deserving of the money than I am. I'll be honest, Eddie.
Nah, don't say that. Don't say that. Everyone deserves a bit of open source, from their open source love and their community work. For you being here, we really appreciate it. And we've been going for an hour and a half. It's probably a good place to stop, unless there's anything else you would like to add or share. But we will do a follow-up in the future and go into more details on CodeSpaces, especially when it comes out of beta. There'll be more documentation on it, more features, and more things available. And I can use it on the organization, which is where we went wrong right at the beginning. And I read that today, so I don't know why I tried to open it under the organization. So that's a bit silly of me.
I'll be honest, I've not tried spinning one up under an organization yet. So, but yeah, no, I think we've covered all the really big pieces. And I just, thank you for having me on the today, Eddie. I really appreciate it, mate. But I think the big things for me is the fact that this is enabling teams in a way that I've just not seen any tool chain which allows you to do something like this in the past. Even with like virtual machines, I think back to the 2010s kind of time when I used to throw a virtual machine to another developer to say, right, develop on that. It just wasn't the same as this because it was so heavy, it was so big and cumbersome, and you still ended up with skew. Things slowly drifted, and you'd end up with, dev virtual machine version 1.3 because it was ever so slightly from somebody else. Yeah. This is going to address so many of those things.
Yes, because it doesn't care, you're right, which machine you're on. If you're using Windows, you're using Mac, using Linux, it doesn't care, which is where I think, yes, you're right, it's going to remove those kind of differences. Yeah.
And because it's coded, it's that cloud way of doing things. It's consistent. And once you've created your immutable dev environment, you treat it the same way as you do with any kind of cloud infrastructure. It only exists while you're using it, and as soon as you stopped using it, you delete it and you spin up a new one that's the same when you need it again.
And I think also for hackathons, right? Because I love hackathons, but the worst thing about going to hackathon is you have to install everything on your machine, because this project, this hackathon wants you to have Python, this project wants you to have Java, this project wants you to have Ruby, and you know, a laptop covered in loads of rubbish. And yes, you're right, you can create VMs, but whereas if someone set up the project in CodeSpaces, then you can just kind of get going.
Yeah. Well, I'll be honest. I've been using dev containers for a while because of that very problem. I've got customers that use pretty much everything under the sun, and rather than trying to, have everything installed on my laptop, I just use dev containers that are specifically tuned for each kind of thing, that project that I'm working on. This just takes it to that next level of storing that definition with my source code. So as I come to work on a project, I just pick up the context of where I was before, and I've got the same dev machine I had last time I looked at it. Yeah. And I think that's the really important bit. Yeah. Especially, and I don't know whether that's just because whether I'm doing something that's a bit different to most people, because I'm across lots of different projects. More of a jack of all trades kind of thing, rather than being very specialized in a particular project, on one kind of tech stack. But I think even if you are very focused on one tech stack, it still gives you the opportunity to make sure that everybody you pair with and you work closely with have got a consistency between each machine, each developer as they're going along. Yeah. So, if you're pairing up with somebody and you know that you've got a certain keyboard shortcut baked into the dev container, yeah, that would be brilliant, because that just lets you make sure that when you're pairing up, you know that when you press X, Y, and Z keys, you get the same response, whether you do it on your machine or whether they do it on their machine, or you do it with, Jackie down the road when you go and pair up with her later on. Yeah,
that's really true. And even with if one's focused on a certain tech stack, there are different versions, as we saw here. There's Node version 12, 13, 14, whatever. So it just keeps that variation between people, a lot closer and a lot tighter. So you're going to get less surprises. Higher quality of like kind of project efficiency as well, like team efficiency, which I think is really important.
That's a brilliant point. It's a brilliant point. And because it's baked into Docker, you can try and synchronize those as well. I haven't seen any tooling to do it yet, but I could foresee it being a relatively modest effort to make sure that your dev container Docker file is kept into some kind of step with your actual productionized Docker file. So as you move forwards, you add something to that dev container, a particular library to the dev container. You make sure you add the runtime to your production Docker environment. Yeah, the same version.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping things in sync. Love that. I know we could talk about this all night, and I know it's dinner time for us both. So I just want to say again a big thank you to Sam for taking the time to come on and share his experiences with CodeSpaces. And I'm glad to hear some people have signed up for it for GitHub sponsors as well. It's really good. And Sam, sign up for GitHub sponsors too, please. And everyone, just say a big thank you to Sam, and do follow him on socials. I'll share his Twitter handle again in the chat, and it's just under his video at the moment as well. Sam, thank you so much. That was awesome. My first proper play with CodeSpaces, and let's just say I'm gonna be playing more. I'm gonna try with some different tech stacks as well. So I've got my open source book that's using ASCII Doctor, which is in Ruby. I've got EddieBot, as Andrew mentioned, which is Node. So I've got a few different projects that I want to have a play and have a try with. So that's really awesome.
No worries. Appreciate it, mate. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. I'm just going to bring up the holding page. If you can hang around for a few seconds, and we'll catch up with you again afterwards.
No worries.
Okay. Thanks again, Sam. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the live stream. Don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. Holding page is here.